welcome to the FlightBridgeED Podcast series.
Hey guys, this is Eric back with you with FlightBridgeED. I wanted to start off today, and I wanted to just thank everybody for following us on Twitter and allowing us to engage in your educational endeavors. We just got back from Dallas, Texas, and did a class in a small city real close to there, about 25 miles south, called Red Oak, Texas. It was great. We had a great time. Had a good turnout. The facilities that we were given in Red Oak at Red Oak Fire Department were phenomenal. Very nice fire department. So I just wanted to thank everybody, if you're listening in that area, for allowing us to come and provide that education to you. The big thing as far as my podcast, I wanted to start off, when I first started doing this podcast series, I wanted to provide education. I wanted to, really invest in people and get information out there. And I feel like we've done that. I feel like we've had a good turnout. I'm always trying to improve things and allow people to shed light on areas that we can improve on. Today's going to be a little bit different. We've had a lot of tragedy in the last few months. We've had quite a few aircraft crashes, and it's getting pretty tough on a lot of people. We just lost a crew in Eastern Kentucky. I knew one of the crew members. Didn't know him real well, but I knew him well enough to. It's really affected me, and it's really bothered me to the point where, I am having a hard time sleeping at night. Sometimes I feel like it weighs on me, and I just wanted to take maybe 10 or 15 minutes and just talk to everybody and really remind everybody of the dangers that we go through every time we step on that aircraft, and that I think it's really easy for all of us, whether you're a new flight crew member or you're a seasoned veteran, to become complacent. I want to, really emphasize that there's a few things that we have to remember. Number one, every time you get on that aircraft, you have to keep your safety in mind. And I say that, everybody probably sits there and says, well, that's obvious. Well, I think we, again, become complacent, and we want to follow the lead of everybody else. I have flown for 10 years. I have precepted countless nurses and paramedics, and I can tell you that one of the big things that I'm always told is, I don't really understand weather. I don't understand the dangers that we're getting into. Yeah, they get that information in orientation. They get that information. We tell them those things. They go through debriefs just like everybody else. But until you start flying and you start understanding of what's going on around you, the situational awareness improves. You really don't understand all the dangers, and you're going to actually probably follow the status quo, which is really alarming. It's not a good thing, because as a seasoned flight crew member, I can tell you from the first time that I started flying at Mercy Flights in Oregon in 2003, the things that made me a little bit nervous don't make me nervous anymore. When I started flying fixed wing in Arizona, flying in very turbulent weather in the desert there, the turbulence, the thunderstorms, those things like that make you very comfortable. So now 10 years later, things don't really bother me like they used to. And that can be kind of alarming. And so if I'm precepting a new nurse and she trusts my judgment and I'm comfortable in certain situations, that's not good. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that a lot of times we don't follow our gut feelings. We put ourselves in situations because our partner feels comfortable, or most often the pilot feels comfortable. Most pilots, that fly EMS have flown for 20, 30, 40 years. So they're going to be very comfortable in a lot of situations. And we all know that there's pilots that are very conservative, and there's pilots that are not so conservative. They're comfortable and will push it a little bit. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, but they will take flights that other pilots won't take flights, and we all have different comfort levels. The tragedy that just happened in Eastern Kentucky, I know there's a lot of people probably listening that have flown in that area. The weather's very unpredictable. It fogs in very quickly. Temperature and dew point, if it gets between 1 to 2 degrees of each other, that's probably a good indication it's going to fog in. And so, I think we have to be very cognizant of those things. We got to remember that there are ground EMS agencies that can take these patients, and that there's no reason to push a flight for any reason. And it's better to always go home to your family, obviously. I find myself really trying to question why these accidents are happening. What's going on? I've flown for two of the largest air services in the country, and I can tell you that both of them have the same safety standards. There's no difference. They both preach the same things. They both are advocates as far as if you don't feel comfortable, you can turn down the flight. One to stay, 3 to go, or 51%. And I can say that they both sing the same thing. So, then I start questioning, is this a culture thing? Is it a base thing? Is it, what is causing these poor decisions? Obviously, there's things out there that happen mechanically, and we can't always, we can't foresee those things. But I think everybody that's listening can probably agree that most often it's human error. It's poor decision making. It's getting yourself in a situation that you can't recover from. And so you got to go back to, standing up for what you believe, being that one person in the crew that's probably not afraid to say something. And I think most often what I've seen is, you lift on a flight, the pilot says maybe it's iffy, we can go try it, and I'll be the first to say that I'm guilty of jumping on the aircraft when a pilot said that. And looking back now, if a pilot says, it's iffy, we can go try it, that's probably one of those indications where you should say, what, if it's iffy, we shouldn't be trying it. I want a definitive, yes, we can go, or no, we can't go. Because, again, oftentimes these crashes happen at night. They happen because of pushing weather, and there's no reason for that. If there's that small a margin where we have to make a decision once we lift, if we can go or not, then I think that we're probably making the wrong decision. But again, I've made that decision. I've lifted on flights. We've gotten up over the city and realized, yeah, we need to turn around and go back. But I've also had those times where I've sat there and I've waited for somebody to say something. And, we've all ended up speaking up. But I think what happens, you get a new crew member out there that's flying with a veteran, and maybe their gut feeling or their comfort level is saying that this isn't good, but they don't want to speak up. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to be the one that folds and says, we can't do this flight. Or maybe they're excited about taking this flight, and they, there's their first or second scene flight, and they're excited about it, and they don't want to go home. And we've all been in that situation. And I think it takes a lot of courage. Everybody says that, we're heroes, and we have a lot of courage, and we do a job that a lot of people can't do. And if you really think about that, I think it takes more courage to make that tough decision to say, what, we're going to stay home. This isn't a safe situation. We shouldn't be pushing this weather, and we need to make that tough decision and speak up. And so don't be afraid to speak up. If you're thinking that we shouldn't be taking this flight, if you're thinking that, this weather isn't looking very good, I guarantee everybody else in that aircraft is thinking the same thing, and nobody wants to say something. So speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up. These companies, whether you fly for Air Evac, if you fly for Air Methods, if you fly for PHI, they all have the same safety standards as far as weather goes. I guarantee it. And they're going to back you up. And there's no reason to push it and have something happen and have a fatal aircraft crash and continue what's been going on in this industry. Again, I'm not taking anything away from anybody that's passed away. I love my brothers and sisters out there as much as anybody, but I'm frankly getting very tired of seeing these tragic events. And it gets me emotional to think about it, that we lose so many mothers and fathers and there's wives and husbands and children that are going without their parents. So please take the time to understand your weather conditions in your area and make a good choice. Be that advocate for your partner, for your pilot. And if you feel uncomfortable about taking the flight, just say no, and everything's going to be all right. Just go home to your family at the end of the shift. Again, I'm sorry about getting emotional, but this is it's been a tough week. I want to thank everybody for doing this job and continuing to go out there and honoring everybody that's fallen. So on behalf of FlightBridge, I wanted to just thank everybody for listening and taking the time to listen to this podcast. And we'll talk to you soon.
We want to thank you for following FlightBridgeED.